motivated in our news?
Well, I don't think it's hard. I think you have to have thick skin if you're going to be the editor or you're going to be a publisher.
To introduce Catron. Good morning. It's my great pleasure to introduce Derek, who works in the News Journal. He's been covering Volusia County for 25 years, including the last 15 years at the News Journal, which is my favorite paper since I grew up in this area. Thank you very much for all the wonderful coverage in our community on Embry-Riddle and all the other wonderful businesses in this.
Love our readers.
Yeah, and I thank you for providing such great news.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you get that on? We got it.
The newspaper, we can be there on your best days and we can be there on your worst days, and hopefully none of you will have to experience something like that, those worst days. The good news is that we do enjoy the good news stories. I told you just 2 examples in the last 2 days. They're harder to find sometimes. Later on, you're going to find at our newspaper there's a really high percentage of people who've been here a very long time, who like this community, fall in love with this community, and don't want to leave. That's what happened to me. I used to work for the Orlando Sentinel. I was their Daytona guy, and I realized that I liked the beach better than Orlando traffic, and I didn't want to leave Daytona.
Kraig Kann was recently promoted to Vice President of Accounting and Finance and Controller of International Speedway Corporation.
Today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the editor of the Daytona Leadership Media, Mr. Catron. I would really like to thank you, Mr. Wright, for taking time out of your very busy schedule. Inform people, you can influence their minds and touch their hearts. So I say to whom much is given, much is required, and I'm pretty sure that big sister of yours is very, very proud.
My bio, and the one thing I do want to say is that the News Journal does have just an incredible bunch of people who work here in the newsroom, including the folks at this table. Introduce ourselves to all of you, and why don't we start with John?
Hi, I'm John Gallus, online content coordinator and Cops and Courts editor for the News Journal.
Derek Catron with Met.
Nick Klasny, I'm the editor for our Flagler County News team.
Bert Noel, sports editor.
Cal Massey, deputy managing editor.
Clayton Park, business editor.
Dave Worsley, features editor.
Keith Saunders, presentation editor.
All right, and missing is Corey Lancaster, our managing editor, and Cindy Casey, our community editor. I mentioned that partly so. Is that a concern?
Saturday morning, people are in their slippers. What's soft news?
Okay.
Happy feel.
Okay.
Piece we went to cheerleading. It is good eye candy. It has a great history, the 20 years of the Ocean Center.
Cheerleading and then from Cheddar's, but then as we also talk about local economics, it ties into the new Smyrna story as well and what the potential ramifications are if that goes through, if that doesn't go through.
It's there because if you are a local, you don't want to go anywhere near that area on the weekend because you don't want to be trying.
Parking situation, like Brooklyn said, for a lot of people, it's something that everybody can relate to when it's, well, hey, are you going to be paying $10 every
center. We think that's good. Environmental issue. A great point about Earth Day coming up, though. We didn't consider that, so that's a great.
So I think Everett would be on there as well. The Obamacare, maybe as the lead, or yeah, probably both of them.
I'm guessing that sort of news is a key topic in this room. It's a leadership chamber. But I wonder,
when you turn it around a little bit, economic impact also means what's in it for me personally. You know, how is that going to affect me?
the cheerleaders is the centerpiece. Man Every in some shape or form.
And your online presence as well. I just wonder how you guys balance what goes on social media. How has it been a positive effect for you to have that interaction?
But we've been there a while now, and I think kind of wherever you like to be, you'll probably find our stories and get steered to us if you're interested in local news. So
I don't know if there are any other questions.
One quick question. So this process that we just went through, does this typically happen for you to play closer to the deadline each day, or how does that? How do you do that?
Mostly what we do is just what we did. We say, okay, what do we have going, and at 10 o'clock, and we sort of go through it. We talk through this. Yeah.
How long do you, the reporters, the journalists have pretty much from start to finish on stories?
Never enough time. And it just depends on the story. There are crime stories that occur on John's team that we find out about, and 15 minutes after we know something, less time than that, we'll have something up online. And
I discourage them from becoming the genius with 1,000 helpers, that everything's their idea, they're the final say on everything. Yet, you still have to have a head coach who listens to the team and says, I heard you all, and here's the direction. There's a balance. If you're the genius with 1,000 helpers, 1,000 helpers stop giving an opinion, because why bother? We're just going to do it Bo's way anyway. And on the other hand, it's the inmates running the asylum. So this is an example of that. Everybody makes their case and has to, buy into what the paper looks like. And I say you're the final say. How does that weigh out? How does that play out?
Well, I would say that I definitely weigh in on things in terms of what goes when and how we go about doing it. In terms of story development, I would say everybody else is much more involved in that than I am, unless there are specific stories that I take a real interest in, and then I'll get involved in it.